This episode is brought to you by Late Stage Capitalism. Go get your bulletproof Cybertruck today.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Podcast Assemble, the show where you come for your rambling, geeky download. My name's Tommy, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by my friend and co-host from across the pond. It's our resident Praetorian guard of the pod, DL. How are you, mate?
I'm good, dude. I'm good.
He's back, baby!
I love the Praetorian Guard. They're just like the constant, on a balancing act. We don't know where their loyalties lie. Their allegiance is to no one. It's the best. That's me. You know, you just be careful. I might stab you in the back, you know.
Well, you might be stabbed in the back this episode, DL, because we are delighted once again to be joined by our resident, that's guest resident of the pod. He is the pod slut behind the Stitch Up Hit 66 sound and screen. He's the co-host of the Film Addicts podcast. It's Regs, everybody!
Hey, everybody, I'm back. I thought you were joking when you said you were going to call me a pod slut, but you went and did it. And Praetorian Guard, I mean, talk about the most ineffectual bunch of motherfuckers you've ever seen. Just keep getting killed or in the way.
Did you just say Dre's ineffectual?
No, I said the Praetorian Guard is. Dre is very effectual. I'll effectual him all day.
He is very effectual to me right now. I can just see him in the corner of my eye, and it's very exciting to me.
It's very effectual.
Gents, it's great to have you back. How are you doing?
Dandy. Yeah, very well. It's a bit warm here. How is it where you guys are?
I'm a sweaty little man. What about you, Dre? I hear it's snowing over there.
Yeah, we figured out the heater finally. You know, these boilers out here, they're not simple things. It took us a month to figure this thing out, but we've cracked it.
Dre's never need heating his whole life.
So we're comfortable, 21 degrees, something like that. But that is not the state of play outside. It is snowing.
A boiler?
Yeah, boiler. It's like the heater for the...
Did you go back in time?
That's what I'm saying, dude. I was like, do you guys also have the black lung? Like, what's going on here?
London is literally just Back to the Future these days.
It's just old stuff. You know, you forget.
Doc and Marty are going to rock up behind you and be like, we have to go to the future, DL. Your kids, they're racists.
Yeah, that. Or when I go file my local police report, I'll have to do it on Baker Street and say hello. Hey, Sherlock, can you help me out? Like, that's what I'm expecting next, given the current state of affairs. Yeah.
Gents, I'm so excited to talk about a movie today. We're talking about Gladiator II. Is that Glad 2-ater or Too Glad 2-ater or Gladiator 2 Boogaloo? I'm not sure which one it is. We're going to be talking about it. And there's so much to talk about. I feel like we've got the full spectrum of feelings about this film on one podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you kind of middle ground or what's...
I'm happy, but I'm not blown away.
Yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair.
That's probably me as well. Probably a little bit more on the it's not that I'm unhappy. It's just why.
When are you ever happy, Dre? Come on, give me something.
¿Por qué?
¿Por qué no las dos?
Why? Why? But the
that was my feeling throughout the whole thing of when they announced it. I'm like, Gladiator 2.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Agreed.
Gladiator 2. Ridley Scott's coming back. Denzel's in it. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And then I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, I get it. I know what they're doing.
I get it.
I was actually the opposite. I was like, oh, Gladiator 2. I'm worried.
I think it was on one of your most excited for the year.
Yeah. There's also so much you can explore in Rome with the Gladiator premise and the storylines that are to come, like the fall of Rome and all that good stuff.
And not just do the same story again.
And maybe
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
And maybe not just do the same story again. Just maybe not. But that's what I was hoping for. And yeah.
Guys, before we get into talking about it, we're getting way ahead of ourselves. I have to ask you both, have you heard the Paul Mescal rumors?
Oh, fuck. What has he done? Oh, God, another one. Who did he fuck? Did he molest a baboon or something on set?
Yeah, this is fabulous. So this was shared by friend of the show, Ollie, and you can find it online.
Is he opening a mezcal line?
No.
That's a nice little soft tequila? I would buy.
I wish it was, but it's way funnier than that. I don't think anything will top this of the stories that have been shared to the show. So thank you, friend of the show, Ollie. So apparently the rumor is that Paul Mescal, he's an up-and-coming actor. He's becoming a star. We can all see this. We can all see how great he is. And the rumor is that he is, as any young man would do, he's
James
going
Bond.
out and enjoying himself, meeting young ladies. The rumor is, though, that he takes the young ladies home. And in the morning, he asks them if they want to go get a coffee, go for a nice walk. And when they get out, they get to wherever they're going for a coffee. He apparently just fucking runs away.
What? No, absolutely not.
So good. You can find it online. It's apparently a thing. Apparently there's people who have said, yes, this has happened to me.
Oh my God. That is one jilted person and everybody else is making it up.
That is so fucking
It sounds
funny.
like that's more difficult. You have to like go find a coffee place, like walk out with them and then just run. Like maybe just
Not necessarily. You could
Maybe
just walk outside with them, take them around the block, and then just be like, peace.
yeah, but surely you could just be like, hey, look, I got something on. Can you go? Like this whole charade.
Why? That's not as much fun.
I guess if you're a
Yeah, I don't know. What if you keep going back to the same coffee shop? You're going to get a rep there as well. Like that guy never pays his bill and he ditches women here.
Yeah.
Isn't that Paul Mescal? Yeah, it is.
He always leaves women taking 2 coffees.
Paul Mescal. He's Irish, but this does not sound like an Irish name. Am I wrong there? Or am I off? Would you have guessed he was
actually don't
Irish
know.
before seeing him? Just hearing Paul Mescal.
No. I thought he was faking it in normal people as well.
Thought he would have been like Argentinian or
I give you that,
something. I don't know.
DL. He doesn't. Speaking of knowing what things are and sound like, have you picked up any Britishisms yet? Any English words? Anything that's new that you can share with the pod?
Oh yeah, I'm excited to hear this.
I've heard of tuft. I don't use it, but apparently it's a word. Tuft. I'm tuft about
Have we talked about this?
I think we did maybe on the last. That's the only one, really. What else? I mean, like,
I thought-
hell. That's everyone always says that.
Well, I thought maybe if for you to try and integrate yourself a little bit into British life, I could maybe share some words with you that you can start to say. You may have heard them. You may not have heard them in context. You may know what, you may be able to use them day to day. So
this is
I thought I'd
risky.
start with the word minging. Do you know the word minging?
Yeah, but that's Aussie as well.
No, that's a very British word. You should bring minging into your day to day. It's used in high society over there.
No. Minging,
No, it's not.
Minging is, my experience with minging is definitely not high society.
No, absolutely not.
Let's see how many times we can use the word minging through the podcast. I feel like that.
Well, what's your definition of it? Because mine might be different.
You tell me yours, and I'll tell you if you're right.
Isn't that when you're really pissed?
No.
That's
No?
mine. Mine is not pissed, but other things. Like if you've like had a little bit of a time with a friend named Molly, and
Yep.
Interesting.
yeah, that's my
Or Mary Jane?
my knowledge of the word
Wait, are you
of
saying
its
pinging
etymology.
or minging?
minging.
Yeah, right. Minging.
Minging in the UK tends to mean it's describing like a person who you are the opposite of attracted to, as in are repellent to you.
mean the ick?
It's kind of just a really mean way to say like you are hideous.
Wow. Okay, that's a lot more vicious than I thought it would be, but I can throw it in there. I can find places for it.
I
in this
feel like
one.
there's
a lot
ways
of
we can
weird
use it
looking-
in this
Why don't
podcast.
we just stick with the ick? Like you give me the ick.
Is that a one as well? I'm not
That's
sure.
a
I'm
bit
not familiar with
so-
that one either.
That's American.
I
Yeah,
feel
right.
like I'm not 18 enough to say that.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you, buddy. You are absolutely no percent 18.
I was once.
Yes, for
At one
for
point in time.
364 days, and that was it. And then
It was a
Good night.
Wednesday.
yeah,
Guys, if you want to hear us badge about our weeks, please feel free. There will be time codes in the description, as always, shared by Matthew Bliss of mbpod.com. And while you're down there, please give us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate it if you would. It helps us with, ratings, stuff we don't understand, algorithms, all those things, stuff that podcasts have that we're trying to get our head around after, what are we up to now? 170 episodes. We're still not 100% sure. 178 if you're one of the real ones. But
Ooh.
Riggs, just a quick question to you. Have you passed the pod this week?
Have I did actually, yes. But
Ooh.
it was not only yours, it was also, because, I say I'm not a pod slut.
Here he goes. Here he goes.
Because last week I did my show, so Film Addicts podcast episode on the Wild Robot. Then I did the episode with you for Dark Knight Rises. Then I was on Sequels Suck talking about Blade 2. Today I've recorded 2 episodes of my own show. One was about Superman 78, and the other one was a commentary for the Tommy Wiseau film The Room, which will be released at Christmas time.
Pod slut.
Yep, and now I'm on this one right here, right now.
That's a full-time job, dude.
It kind of is a little bit at the moment, yeah. But I passed your one for the Dark Knight Rises to a few friends who enjoy that film
We
also.
appreciate
And
that.
I also passed on the, I told people that Blade 2 episode's coming out for Sequel Suck. So yes, there's been pod passing.
And look, if guys, you could pass it on, that would really help us. Helps us to spread the good word of Podcast Assemble to every corner of the known universe, as the Roman Empire tried to. Thank you very much, Rig. We appreciate when you do that, especially when you're on. It's great when you can spruik your own stuff. Where can our lovely listeners find you, though?
Well, yeah, Film Addicts podcast is what I do with my mate Addy, and we'll be a small hiatus while I go on travels, but there'll be a few episodes dropping here and there. And yeah, you can also find me at Hit 66 Sound and Screen is my company, and also run a recording studio on the peninsula in Melbourne called Capel Sound Studios.
I just wish you could say it with the enthusiasm I have for it. I love your work. I love it popping up on my Instagram feed and going, ooh, I can watch another cool thing that Riggs has done.
You turn into a monkey for
I do.
a few seconds.
I was at the first fight scene in this movie.
An 18-year-old monkey. Amazing.
Dude, I'll be real. Like, I've listened to enough Joe Rogan to know that those monkeys would have destroyed those guys. They would have been minced meat, dude. That took me out of the movie.
Why does Joe Rogan know about baboons?
All he does is talk about how baboons and chimps can kill people with the snap of their fingers. It's like his go-to bit.
Why is that guy so popular?
He talks about this stuff probably once every 5 podcasts, and it's the same little pitch, and it's like, don't fuck with baboons. So that was...
It's a running thread for his show. Okay,
that was unbelievable to me, to be fair.
It seems like a joke that I wouldn't be able to get on board with. Like, I feel like you've got to throw some silly gags in there as well, like Vladimir Putin dildos. Otherwise, I'm just not on board.
With baboon dildo? What? What'd you say? I didn't hear you.
Gents, talk to me.
Dildos,
what have you been up to this week? Have you been up to anything exciting, DL?
This week, what have we done? I mean, we've been hitting the pub scene. Not a lot of eventful things other than, the movie we saw. I was actually pretty excited for this one, so we made a whole big thing about it and went to a nice theater, had a nice dinner, all that kind of stuff. But beyond that, man, like what have I been watching? I've been trucking through Lost. There hasn't been a lot of time, to be fair. It's a good thing we got 2 other people to talk about stuff, because my recommendations are slim this week. But Lost is kicking along. There's a lot of episodes each season. I'm still in season 1. There's 25 episodes.
Wow. I know I can't be doing 25 episode seasons. Yeah, that's outrageous.
You forget about this network level shit, dude. But there's a bit of weird nostalgia watching it, to be honest, because it's just such a point in time, and you don't have to really in depth pay attention.
I mean, that's my life. I don't do that for anything.
Yeah. Other than that, though,
at this point,
I've just been rewatching.
I'm not 18 anymore, apparently.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Other than that, though, I've just been rewatching Red Rising AI generated Instagram videos on loop every second
you're
I
obsessed.
get. Dude, I want it. I actually outbounded this guy. I was like, bro, you need to sell yourself to Pierce Brown because this is the movie that needs to be made. And he responded, liked it, and was like, thanks, man, ... And I'm like, is he already doing this? Maybe he's already hired as the costume guy. I don't know.
Surely not.
I digress.
Surely
it's a
not.
loaded ... definitely.
Yeah, for sure. You don't ... there unless
something's happened.
Yeah. ...
I mean, Pierce Brown has commented on his stuff, so I think there's a chance.
I mean, he does make some pretty cool visuals for the show. I personally wouldn't like to see it as that sort of weird AI animated mess that it sort of is. I think that's cool and it's got its place, but I want to see Game of Thronesian level shit for that book series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be great, but I just think everyone's too poor. Hollywood's too poor. They need to do something to make it, and that's too big. I don't know how they do it. I don't know, Reeks, you might know more. What about the AI boom? I know a lot of people are calling it hey, this is terrible. There are some benefits to scaled production that I think some studios are experimenting with.
In the visual effects arena, I'm not so much, because it's, things that cost a lot, we're going to start costing a lot less, and that's going to be difficult for those artists. But I think Ben Affleck was talking about it during a interview the other day, and he was saying that it's not going to replace actors, it's not going to replace writers. You can't create that magic that happens on a set. And all this. Yeah, exactly. You might be able to AI a script. Is it going to be like what a normal script is? Because all it's doing is taking information that already exists. It can't create. But what it will do is make laborious, less creative, tasks that happen on sets and things like that, more efficient, and that will lower costs, which means the inroads for people to do, especially in indie cinema, it'll be much easier. You're not going to have to make a movie for $4 million to make your first picture. You can do it for $15,000 because there's so much of that cost is being done by AI. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I don't disagree with it either. I'm on the fence. I don't use AI myself. I have creative partners who do, and that's their choice. But the work that I do, while the sort of monotonous tasks of it could be made more efficient by using AI, I also feel like I would lose a lot of lessons doing that, and problem solving and stuff. But yeah, I mean, everything has its place, and we'll find a way to make it work within what we're doing.
Very interesting. It's interesting you say that about finding it yourself, because if you think about the next generation that are coming up who are learning the tools and learning the solutions that you use for creation, for editing, whatever that looks like, they're going to be using them from AI from day dot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not going to know a time before AI wasn't available for them to use. So there's going to come a time where, like, not to make it sound old, but that is going to become like the past. So you're just going to have to almost use them to get by, because they're becoming ubiquitous within the solutions.
It's the same as non-linear editing systems. Like when they stopped using Avids exclusively and started using software, and we were able to actually, do things in a non-linear fashion.
Exactly.
It did. The learning curve was huge, and I totally get that. I just feel like there's a way to do both, and I also feel like a lot of people are fucking impatient now as well, and just don't want to do the work.
Completely. And I think that's Hollywood in a jam jar.
Yeah, I don't know what the tooling is. My more thing is like it'll be like deflationary, to your point, around making stuff that used to be like unbelievable. You just couldn't do it. You might be able to actually do a Red Rising book, because so much of that stuff, would, if you did it all physical, you would need a nation state's GDP to make the film. So it's like, I'm hoping that
Totally.
I want them to still have costume designers and actors, but just augment that with some of the cost cutting.
Well, yeah. And I think one of the things that, I work for a big tech company, and our mantra about AI specifically is that it is for, like time consuming menial tasks that take up creativity. So like if you think about the storyboarding, the building, all of the stuff that happens before you actually get to doing the cool shit you want to do to try and build a visual, that's what the tech company I work for sees it as. And I find that really interesting, because that negates massively time, meaning that you can put your creativity into the things you actually want to be doing. And that's where I see it being most valuable.
Yeah, I just see people using it now.
Oh, because they're lazy as fuck. Yeah, I get that.
Well, and also because they're not creative.
Yeah, right.
And you can't like feed that machine, or you can't feed that creativity if you don't have it.
No, it needs that juice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it needs that initial. And that's my point. How do you scale it to like this crazy, absurdly ambitious book series? Like, this guy seems to have done it well. And he's the part I like about his Instagram, it's like, let me give him a shout. It's like Red Rising Prince or something. Or Red Print Rising. I don't know. We'll add it in the show notes.
That sounds sexier than I think it's supposed to, but
yeah.
Sure.
My pink's currently rising.
He's a costume designer as well. So he's done this. He's also built up. So it's like, you can tell he gets it.
A sexy costume designer?
I mean, if you're into Roman armored wolf masks, then you're a
caravan.
Yeah. Anyway, we can get off the existential topics if you want, but that was what.
No, I love it. I love this shit, man. This is where I get to talk about this stuff.
This is great. We're normally so silly. This is fabulous. I do have a point to make about the movie, and we're joking about silly naughtiness, but this is a really horny film we're going to be talking about today. In its down moments, it gets real horny. Let's talk about that in a minute. What have you been up to, Regs? What's been happening in your world? What do you recommend?
Well, I was, like I said, talking to you about all the pods I've been on, but I must tell you, last night, for some reason, Trent Reznor was in my sphere. He's been in my head all day, and I'd spoken about him and whatever. And my phone knew, because when I was having a look for something to watch, Challenges came up on Prime. The Zendaya picture about the competitive tennis.
Yeah, we talked about this recently.
Yeah.
And Atticus Ross and Trent Reznor wrote the score for it.
Yeah.
And it's an excellent picture. It was really stylized and sexy, and it's the best performance Zendaya's ever put in by a country mile. But the fucking score that they wrote, it's like an in album. It's like a 9 Inch Nails album without any singing. It's like Ghosts or something. But oh man, highly recommend just for the placement of the score. It's absolutely incredible.
Interesting. This is really interesting, because we actually talked about this maybe 3 weeks ago. When was the last time we talked, DL? Was it on Gladiator? No.
I think it would have been a couple weeks ago.
When we did Venom: The Last Dance, we actually talked exactly about this movie, Regs, and me and the partner both sat down to watch it, and we both got bored of it. We both stopped watching after a while. I ended up doing podcast notes, so I was just like, I don't I'm not like engaged with this movie. It felt really choppy. It didn't like the linearity of the story was just very off and a bit weird. It felt a bit chopped up in editing.
Yeah, I can see that. It doesn't have a real confluence, and it does do that. But and it's, you know, the criticism is that all of the characters quite, you know, there's nothing going on there. It's a very tropey and all that kind of stuff. But it was just the visual style and the music and the way it was kind of put together. Really, that was what captured me. Like, if you ask me in a week what the exact storyline is, I probably won't be able to tell you. But if
Can you tell me
turn
now?
a camera into a tennis ball for a couple of shots, that's pretty cool.
So do you recommend?
Yes, I do. Yeah, actually, what I recommend is get out wherever you listen to music, whether it's Amazon Music or Spotify or whatever, and fucking listen to the soundtrack while you're in the gym, and you will get a pump on.
Pump on. That's what I would like.
You got to be careful. It's a dark, it's a dark place. Lots of heavy metal.
What is it, like a reading of Mein Kampf? Like, what's going on?
No, it's not that dark. Jesus. It's just
not that dark.
It's just a lot of prog rock, new age metal, emo, screamo. It's dark in there. A lot of angst.
Love that.
It's
for you.
angsty.
I love it.
Love that for you.
It's angsty.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get a pump on while my pink rises. As long as there's no
Gross.
Mein Kampf. As long as there's no Mein Kampf jokes in there, I'm happy. That's all I'm going
What
to say.
is your
Look,
pink? Please explain yourself.
Please don't.
That wasn't clear to me. I need you to explain it in detail.
just Regan, please don't. Amazing. I did a fun thing this week, and actually this was shared to me quite a while ago by a friend of the show, Sarah. I finally got around to watching the first episode of Silo because I saw there is a new season coming out. I don't know. Have either of you chaps seen Silo?
Yeah.
No.
What did you think?
Yeah, I think you didn't like it.
No. I've only seen the first episode. I had a good time with it.
All right.
It must have had really awkward timing when it came out because Fallout came out around a similar time, and I just fell in love with Fallout. And it's not a terribly dissimilar concept to it. Like, you know, there's this vault thing they're in, and they're trying to get out for reasons and whatnot. And I just bloody love that Fallout show. So I think that's the reason why I didn't fall in love with this immediately.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
What
it's
is it
a
on?
pretty slow show. Apple.
Silo is on Apple, yes.
Who's in it?
Rebecca Ferguson.
That's the one from
yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Okay.
And
Dude.
also Tim Robbins is in it. And, my main man, what's his name? Common.
It's a pretty good cast. I like the cast. My main man, Common.
Main man comment.
He's awesome, man. He freestyles like the best. And when you were saying your
I love his
playlist at the gym
freestyles.
is all dark emo shit, mine is straight up hip hop. Like
That's
every
actually
single
pretty
track.
dope.
Straight up gangster.
Yeah.
I should get a hip hop gym playlist going. That's fair.
I'll send you a few choice pieces.
Early Common
Tupac.
is very uplifting. I don't know if you've heard a lot of Common's early stuff. It is really, some of it's super heartfelt.
Oh, bless him.
I like early Common. Look, I quite enjoyed watching the first episode of Silo. Thank you, friend of the show, Sarah. We appreciate when you send us stuff. We call you out when you send us stuff. It's good. I think it's got a lot of potential. There's more to the characters than I've had opportunity to watch of it. Without still not having Netflix, it's slim picking, so I had to pick up something on a different
my
different
bad.
channel.
That's on me. That's a subtle jab. That's a subtle jab. Not so
Not
subtle
even
jab,
subtle.
to be fair.
No.
Were you guys sharing, were you?
We share
used
everything.
to. I need to
India.
add him to my household, and I've just forgotten.
Yeah, okay. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
We share books. We share Pink Risings. We share everything together, me and Dia. Call it a circle
Pink
jerk.
Risings, indeed. My goodness.
I would say I recommend Silo. I've only seen one episode, though, but you certainly recommend Silo, Regs, and that's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, if there's some stuff we haven't talked about that you would recommend, feel free to hit us up. You can find us at Podcast Assemble or thepodcastassemble@gmail.com. We're everywhere. We've got a website. We've got stuff and things. We're on the internet. Go check us out. We are around. You can send us memes. You can send us news. You can send us reviews. Or like Sarah, you can send us a recommendation. We love it when you do. Now, gents, do you want to preface our main topic?
It's the main topic theme.
Yes, I think DL, I'm going to handball this one to you because I did last week.
Yeah. This week we are Gladiator IIing by Ridley Scott. I mean, if you can call it number 2.
Well, I mean, we almost said it was number 2 earlier.
It's the
Early shade.
sequel. It's the sequel to the story you know and love. And in case you forgot, there is a montage of the entire movie in watercolor paint at the start.
Yes, there is.
Like, in case you came to this movie not knowing who Maximus
Not having seen one of the best movies of all
Aurelius
time.
was, which, shocking. Go watch the first. It's got Pedro Pascal and Mescal. What's the
Pascal
what's
and
the main guy's
Mescal.
What's the guy's name? Pablo Mescal?
Paul Mescal.
Paul Mescal. I'm doing a terrible job of this. With some
Pablo
return.
Escobar is who you're thinking of, yeah.
It's funny you talked about Ridley Scott, because I think like we've talked about a million times about we're doing our Chris Nolan anthology. I feel like we're sort of inadvertently doing like one of them for him, because we've done so many of his frigging movies on this podcast. We seem to be just chipping away at his films.
I mean, I don't want to say too much because some of it might be spoilers, but I'll just keep it to a high level. After, our main characters, people have been conquered by the old, Roman Empire. Love them, hate them. You know what they do. And we follow, shocker, his journey into the Colosseum.
We sure do.
I think
we're going to do
non
non-spoilers and spoilers today, to be frank with you, because I feel like this is a new movie. We should probably stick to that as best we can. Good to call it out. I do have a question for you both before we get into this, though. This is getting a mixed response from audiences. It was beaten in theaters, I believe, by The Naughty Robot that you watched. Oh, no, it was Wicked that he got beaten in cinemas by this last weekend in terms of box office.
Not surprising.
This is an epic movie, full stop. But I have to ask you both up top, and we're going to ask you again at the end. Does this need to exist?
Does it need to exist?
Yeah.
Wait till my stupid plot summary, and then you might find out why I think that there's some important messaging going on here that I think might be missed.
All right, DL.
I think that, there was a little, they almost found a way to make it need to exist. But my biggest complaint throughout the movie was I feel like a lot of this is manufactured. And I think it's not because of the themes they were trying to hit on. It's because of how they chose to draw, like the big choices they made for who the people were that were driving the story.
It was the sharks in the Colosseum, wasn't it? I heard a very good rant on your Instagram, Regs, of you going into depths about... I
just can't figure it out. I
laugh at it every time. I've watched it like 3 or 4 times now. You're like, how do they seal it? How do they keep the water in? And then where do they get the sharks from?
They don't explain in the film.
It's absolutely brilliant. Look, let's not get ahead of ourselves then. Let's talk stupid plot summaries. I'm going to go with you first, Regan.
All right. I must just tell you really quickly, though. I went to the preview screening of this, and so it was like a day before the actual release. And on the Monday before that, my camera assistant, Alex, and I were doing our boxing training, and she was going to stay that night for dinner and watch the original because she hadn't seen it, and then come on Wednesday.
She hadn't seen Gladiator.
No, she's only 28, so she's missed it.
Well, she's not 18.
No, she's not 18. We're boxing away, and I said to her, "Do you still want to stay for dinner and watch Gladiator?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, I can't wait, Paul Mescal." And I'm like, "Oh no, he's in the second one." And she was like, jokingly, she got somber and went, "Oh, I'm going to go home then." And I was like, "Oh no, he's in the second one, and he's coming because we're going to see him on Wednesday, which is before the thing comes out. He's coming early, actually. It's premature gladiation." And he had to stop. He had to stop boxing because she was crying with laughter at premature gladiation. But anyway, aside from all
I
that,
love when you have to tell your funny jokes to make sure everybody hears them. That's great. We appreciate that. You've got to make sure there's a broader audience for your jokes.
I might have even told it on another pod. I can't remember. They're all bleeding together. Pod slut.
There should be like a horn. You know, like the horn, like a horn that a ship makes. It's like, it should be like, pod slut. Should be in the background.
I should have a foghorn to tell everyone I'm a slut.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you need.
Jesus Christ.
Go on.
Pod slut slang.
Give me that stupid plot summary.
Yes, my stupid plot summary. My stupid
shot summary
is corruption, civil unrest, ginger overlords, and a bunch of mad baboons. But enough about the US election. Gladiator 2 fucking rules harder than having sharks in your Colosseum.
I like that a lot.
What I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.
DL?
Avatar 2.
I thought it was going to be so articulate and beautiful and just so beautiful prose. And no, it was just a straight up slam of 2 movies.
Fabulous.
I have a second one, but I'll let Tommy go first.
Mine's nowhere near as good as that. Yours is beautiful. Mine's just Gladiator 2, proving fridging is still a feasible option for plot motivation in 2024, the movie. That's it. That's all I got.
I was gonna say a former Roman aristocrat sets out to exact vengeance against the corrupt emperors who murdered his family and sent him into slavery. and I'd ask you which 2 words were changed from the first Gladiator synopsis. Yeah. Literally, there's
how many extra letters were added,
and one letter and one word was swapped. Anyway,
yeah, love that for us. This is great. So look, this brings back Connie Nielsen. You'll remember as Lucilla from the first one. We have a whole effectively new set of characters. We've got, as you mentioned, Paul Mescal as Lucius. Denzel Washington is bloody brilliant in this. One of the show favorites, Pedro Pascal. This is a big goddamn cast. It's got Joseph Quinn, who will forever be known as Eddie, as his tradition, as his role is in Stranger Things. He is Emperor Getter. I've never heard of Fred Heischinger. Never heard of him, but he's the other Emperor. He's apparently in White Lotus. But I just wanted to call out a couple of the other people that are in this.
Oh, he's the brother in White Lotus. That's where I knew him from
the brother? Which one?
The brother of, it's season 1, isn't it? And he's the brother of...
the little brother.
Sydney Sweeney, yeah.
Yeah.
The one who learns how to surf.
Yeah. And then just was like, I want a canoe for the rest of my life. Yeah.
And then fucks off. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's excellent.
I thought that was Marshall Erickson from How I Met Your Mother.
Maybe I'm confusing them.
I'm kidding.
Oh, you just pull it out. Fuck off. Get back.
That's such a good film. I absolutely love forgetting Sarah Marshall. Did you guys notice that Gratius was back in this? That guy who's 1,000 years old.
He didn't look too bad. You talking about the senator?
He looks exactly the same.
Yeah, I was going to say he aged all right.
He has. You may have also noticed the Hound made a very brief cameo in this.
He had a couple
and a couple of very British people were in this too. I love that they went for British accents in a Roman epic. So a dude called Matt Lucas, who's a comedian. He was a master of ceremony. And I'm going to talk about Tim McInnery in a little bit because he was fabulous in this. But let's talk about this movie. What is the crux of this movie? What happens, DL? You give us a little overview before.
It's hard to talk about without spoiling, but somebody gets, we kind of see
Rome is expanding.
Yeah, Rome's expanding as it was and always is until it isn't.
Is Regan's bumhole.
Yeah.
Sorry,
gross.
I got carried away.
We kind of see the opposite, like the side of what happens to you guys. Come on.
Sorry. It's just so unnecessary. It was the most unnecessary shit to say that.
It's just to do it. I feel so fucking extra.
It is. But I feel like it's my fault. Like I'm starting to have an effect on you guys.
It is your butthole that was expanding, so. It can't be my fault. Unless something very dark is happening. Anyway, he has
a DL dildo that he's just.
The next thing I was going to say was I forgot. Yeah, we're seeing basically the inverted story of a people in the media. We see it from the perspective of them being conquered, which was kind of the opposite of the start of the first Gladiator. So there's a cool little inversion there, I guess. And we follow a similar story to someone who's been, put into slavery, but not ousted. This is actually the normal way of things, right? This is actually how things worked when you were conquered, as opposed to seeing someone who's kind of been disinherited. They both were disinherited, but this is like the okay type of disinheriting when you look at the Roman rule. So that's where we start, and we follow a similar story where Rome is kind of under the, I guess, responsibility. Tyranny is the word I'm looking for, of two Joffrey-like emperors, which I don't know if that's historically accurate. I was going to look, but I totally forgot to. I don't know if anybody has.
It seems like something that none of us would have looked up. Let's be quite perfectly honest with you. But I do like that. And I think the thing that works best for me in this is kind of the spectacle of it. Like going back to what we were talking about before, I'm sort of on the spectrum for this movie. My thoughts on this movie are on a spectrum from best movie ever to worst movie ever. I'm sort of like, I really like this. I love the spectacle of it. I think everything that Ridley Scott brought to this was amazing. I don't 100% think all the story worked for me in this. So, and it leaned way too heavily on the original one. But when we talk about the spectacle, like I was mentioning, I think that brings this film to life. And like you say, you start in the media. It's this amazing battle scene. He creates these fantastic sets with, real ships. Obviously not in water, but fabulous ships, fantastic sets, beautiful costume design. And I think I was just taken along by the movie, and having those two fuckwits running it gave you a good person to hate as part of the spectacle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think as well, it kind of lives and dies on the action, because that's what this is. I mean, Gladiator 1 was a Academy Award nominated prestige picture that made a star out of an Australian, dude who'd been in LA Confidential and Virtuosity. Like, it was remarkable. But this is a action adventure picture. Has more in common with Pirates of the Caribbean than it does the OG Gladiator. Yeah.
And it's funny you say that, because it is of its time in many ways. They both are. I feel like the original one was of its time in that it encapsulated a real moment of cinema. Sword and Sandals had been out of cinema for a while. He brought it back. They tried to make it into a thing again, whereas this encapsulates what cinema is now, and that's Hollywood sort of scratching the surface of every single, IP they have to try and bring something that's going to make it more money. You know what I mean? Did you see the trailer for How to Train Your Dragon this week? I did. It looked shit.
But let's be honest, you didn't like the first 2 or 3.
I liked How to Train Your Dragon.
How many?
If that's what it's called. I don't know.
Probably I think it's 3. I think it's a trilogy.
I don't think like Ridley would have made this if he didn't think he could do it right. But also, he has done that before.
Yeah, he has.
I guess my point is, I don't like Hollywood probably wasn't opposed to the idea, but he obviously thought he had something here. And look, it's enjoyable.
Oh, it's a very enjoyable film.
I was just haunted by how manufactured every bit of the storyline that the character driven plot felt.
Interesting.
And largely because of who the people were. I think it should have just been a completely new story.
I had that note as well. I think that's so true. This, I think haunted's the perfect word for this. I think everything in this works, right? Everything works. The story's good. The action's amazing. Everyone acts their asses off. Like we talked about, the set design's phenomenal. But because they lean so heavily on the first one, I was constantly thinking, holy shit, this is so good, but it's not that film I love. Do you know what I mean? If it had have been its own thing, even if it was Gladiator 2, just a different Gladiator, that should be that should be on the poster. Gladiator 2, just a different Gladiator.
Well, I mean, a different dude.
And that would have been better.
It does do you know what did it for me? It does the classic sequel thing where it's everything that happened before, instead of building on it, we have to just hit it, pull the rug from it and say, oh, nothing actually, all the things you cared about and worked for, nothing actually mattered. It all went back to the same thing. And,
the status quo is returned.
Yeah, the status quo is returned, instead of trying to really more so justify what happened in the first one and build on it, which is the class, Star Wars did this. All these new age franchise remakes, they always just try and just belittle what was done before instead of building on it and kind of justifying it further. And I always talk about,
and that's why we created the term rebootuation, because I think that's where that came from. It is.
You can rebootuate something though with a new feel, I think, and a new take. It's just
totally.
That's not what this is.
Yeah, 100% agree. Regs?
I feel like it's very, very good point, well made, I must say. But it's also we do feel the need to reach back constantly,
totally.
As opposed
Look at
to
fashion.
Creating something new. Yeah, and I think I can't really say this bit without ruining it, but you guys know where that main character comes from. You know what I'm saying? So you guys know his lineage.
Right.
Maybe if they didn't do that, if it was just the way that the trailers seem to show it as being, he has his own reason for wanting revenge and all that stuff, and it was not connected, and it was just another gladiator rising up. And maybe there is, because he's Connie Nielsen's son, obviously, there's some rise to power in claiming back the throne and the fucking Lion King of it all. Awesome. But the other stuff was, maybe unnecessary.
I much prefer a story where Pedro Pascal and his character is haunted by what he's being forced to do to rise through, as a part of his just commitment to the society and his place. He's almost just as imprisoned in his role as the recent gladiator we follow, who he conquers, and they form a bond somehow. And that's the story we see, and we see how Rome has lost its way, and we see the fall of Rome, which is actually what this time period was about. Rome was collapsing, and I think that's a much more interesting story. Because it explores the idea that you can go by your freedom by someone who has their freedom and also feels enslaved to just conquer.
totally,
Like that's
totally.
a much cooler dynamic than what we got, which was basically the hero's tale for
I really
a
want to buy
lost
my
heir.
freedom sometime.
Yeah.
I've been waiting for the long time. That freedom will come.
Yeah.
I tell you what I did enjoy about this movie, and it was quite in line to what you're saying there. It did, in some ways, explore that. Like, like it did touch on the fall of Rome in many ways, or at least in some respect.
my favorite parts. Yeah,
to a degree.
And
And they were like some of the most interesting parts. You had these like twin emperors who I have made a screw up with my notes, but I actually think it's quite prominent, quite poignant. I put these twink emperors. That's actually quite good for this point of the movie. You have these twink emperors who literally they're draining Rome of all of its resources, and it's something that we actually talked about. We talked about Gladiator a couple of weeks ago. DL. That's sort of what Joaquin Phoenix's character was doing. You just didn't have it explored in the movie. Whereas in this, it became an uprising. It became the small folk trying to fight back. And I thought that, like you say, could have easily been a much more interesting thing to explore more deeply.
Yeah. I agree.
It was a much hornier film than the last one. Did you guys get that?
Oh, I don't know. Gladiator 1's pretty fucking horny. I'm sorry. There's a lot of there's
Yeah,
some
you're right.
sexist business going on.
Yeah,
there.
you're right. The Oliver Reed character does have a face on his table with a big hole in it that's about dick size. 100% he's fucking that head. We talked about it. Go back and listen to our Gladiator episode.
About dick size. Yep. Fantastic.
Well, no, he's apparently a well-hung man, so I'm not just saying.
Where do you get this information?
The internet isn't that deep.
I'm on the dark web at all
I
times.
know what you've been using AI for. All right.
Manufacturing cocks is what's up.
The movie didn't lack that character though. Like
Dolly
the
dong.
Denzel character. Denzel's one of my favorite actors in Hollywood. That's not a spicy take. Let's be quite frank. He's awesome. I've had a few people talk like being a little less than sympathetic to him just keeping his American accent, but from my perspective, like these are all people playing Romans with British accents. I'm like, who gives a fuck how he sounds?
To be fair, the
He's
only
putting
one
a little something on it. There's a
they
little
conquered.
something
They conquered Britannia at some point towards the end.
Probably.
So it's not like that's what I love about Rome. It's you can actually have like a bunch of different characters, like of all different races and accents, and it actually doesn't, as a set piece, like it makes sense, except for American. The only one that doesn't make sense.
The one that shouldn't
is
be
American.
there.
Yeah. To be fair.
What did you think of Denzel?
I loved him. I think he steals every scene he's in.
Yeah,
he's
I
got
agree.
a real strut. He's real
I agree.
swagger going on.
He's a man with a plan.
Yeah, the character's really interesting as well, and it does kind of supplant the Oliver Reed character from the first one and makes him more of a villain, because originally, in the first Gladiator, Oliver Reed was supposed to be the person who Maximus fought at the end, but he died during the making of the film. Yeah, exactly. So to have that kind of antagonism going on throughout the film was really great. And yeah, Denzel's just fucking strutting, man. He's got his swag on 10.
I think he gave it a really nice extra dynamic that the first film didn't have, because in the first film, obviously Maximus was fighting his way through the ranks. He had one direction and that was up. That's all he could go for. And then you obviously had Joaquin Phoenix's Holden Commodore, who was he was just he was like the Joker in The Dark Knight. He was like
Ironically.
he was like a dog chasing cars. Very ironically, he wouldn't know what to do if he caught it. He was just fucking psycho. Whereas this guy, he is a man of a plan. He knows what he's got to do. He's manipulating behind the scenes. He's using people's gambling addictions. I said I'm going to talk about Tim in a minute, who's Thrax. It was just a really interesting tidbit into how the sociopolitics works, I thought.
Absolutely, yeah.
Dre?
I think he was really, really great.
That was like so sassy. Like, I think
he's really great. I think his storyline was a compelling one. I would have liked, again, I'm just gonna like rewrite the movie. I'm sorry. I think he's like, his performance is great. His storyline's like this. That's an interesting storyline. I have really no complaints to like that part of the movie. Just more to how it would have been way cooler to see him who's disenfranchised by Rome, juxtaposed by Pedro and the other character if the other character, I don't like that he was competing with the heir.
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked him to be competing with the nobody, and I think that's a much more interesting. I'm repeating myself, but I think it adds value to his story as well, because it's like the same perspective, two people that took very different things away from their experience by the end, and they're like their climax of their arcs is like and the antithesis of each other. But yeah, his performance is amazing. I mean, he's so like. Think of the way he moves is like so interesting in that movie with his robes and like I just kept going back to his body language and
same. It
reminded me of when he played Malcolm X, actually, the way he held himself, his gait and all that stuff. Like it felt really regal. And the first part of Malcolm X, where he's got more swagger than he has clout, and it's all performance. Yeah,
it's almost like dancing at times. He's showing his emotions through interpretive dance, as I shall for the rest of the podcast. No, I really like that. That's a really interesting point, DL. I hadn't really considered that, but I did find myself drawn to, how he was constantly fiddling with his robes, almost to, distract from certain things that were happening around. It's a very interesting part, but shout out to one of my favorite characters in this, who is Tim McInnery. He is one of the hardest working actors alive. Like, if you look at his IMDb, he is just all over. Like, he's doing everything. He's doing 1,000 shows. You'll know him from everything from Game of Thrones. He was Robert Glover in that, to Sherlock, to Mission Impossible 5. The dude's in freaking everything. And in this, he's got this amazing part where he's part of the Senate, and he's like, he's part of the crew who's in with Lucille at the beginning. And Denzel's manipulation of him is one of my actual favorite parts of the whole movie, the way that all happens and how all the allegiances change and such. But that dude, man, got to give him a round of applause. Like, he's like one of the hardest working actors out there. Love this for him.
Yeah, he was excellent, and also gets completely shafted and has his house stolen and his fucking horses stolen, his wife stolen. It's epic.
Denzel doesn't discriminate in this, though. I was saying it's a horny film.
I don't feel bad
a scene
for that
where
guy.
he's like, yeah, no, me neither. There's a scene where Denzel's like, I'll take a guy, I'll take a girl.
Yeah, exactly.
He deserves all of that. Sorry, Dre, you were saying?
No, I just don't have any pity for the people that Denzel kind of maneuvers around. It was like so predictable. These guys, come on, have your head on a swivel. You're in ancient Rome in the Senate. Come on, dude.
We haven't talked much about Pedro Pascal in this. I thought he was a really compelling character. I
loved his character.
Maybe that could have been used more effectively. Like,
he just needed more. They needed to give him more time, and he just needed a bigger part of the movie. I think more time with the Paul Mescal.
Interesting. I do feel like there was more that could have been done with him, and I didn't feel like he got that much to do in the film.
No, I mean, like, you're right. His storyline, Dre's right. It was the most compelling. Like, he's been battling, the other nations for these strange, corrupt senators,
gingers.
Strange corrupt gingers, strange corrupt emperors, and he's saying to his wife, I will not sacrifice another generation of young men for their vanity. Yeah. And his, the rising up, he should have ended up being the gladiator, really. You know what I mean?
Totally. I really like that.
And Pedro's awesome. Like, he fucking is awesome.
He's a favorite of the pod, man. That guy, I want to see him in everything, but at the same time, I don't want to end up getting overwhelmed by how much Pedro Pascal's out there. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
I want one thing of him a year, and that's enough.
Yep. I'll take it. Well, next year you'll get fucking Fantastic Four and shit.
And
I'm worried about that.
So
yeah, I'm worried about that.
Why are you worried about that?
I don't know. I just feel like that role is not an easy role to. I just don't think there's that much there. I think it's going to be bland.
You just don't like the stretchy effects. That's what it is.
Well, it's not a great power either. Yes, but I just
depends on what you do.
Yeah,
well, not if you're a scientist, maybe not. Yeah. You're in porn. Excellent.
Yes.
Is that why your hole was expanding before? I see.
Yeah, I'm made out of rubber, actually. Yeah.
Speaking of gingers and the antagonists of this, what did you think of the twin emperors?
They're just like anyone out there. They're just not as good as the Commodus, but they're not bad.
Holden Commodore.
Isn't it Commodus? What is his name?
Yeah, I know. The original up in the last episode. He became Holden Commodore, and he shall forever be known as that.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, Holden. I'm talking about Joaquin's character from the first one, and when you compare them, like, they're different. They're definitely compelling in their performance, but I think their motivations are just so Joffrey-esque without the Joffrey background that I'm like, oh, I don't really know, what to think. These guys suck, and they're compellingly.
Why are they behaving like that?
Yeah, like they're compellingly suck. They're compellingly villainous, but I'm like, do I care? Like, I have no shred of empathy because I haven't been given any context, and so
that's true. Actually,
I'm just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, they suck.
I mean, I do appreciate that, the kind of how things end up with them, and that they nominate a monkey to be, have some sort of position of power, and Denzel's just like, all hail the monkey. It kind of
that was amazing. And that was an amazing. You'll
have to excuse my brother. The disease that affects his loins now affects his mind. I'm
that
guy's got the fucking full on crotch rot. He has.
Told ya.
What's the
Funniest
one?
movie.
Syphilis.
It's syphilis. Yeah, I think he has syphilis.
He's got the most amount of syphilis that you can get. He has extra syphilis.
He has 10. He's got syphilis turned up to 11. Let's say. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And the thing that took me out of it as well was how, and I quite liked all of the design of this, but they're like really pastiness and how much makeup that they both had on to try and stand out from the crowds. And all I could really think about was because how ginger they are. Have you ever seen that Tim Minchin sketch where he does the ginger sketch? Have you ever seen that? He sits there and he's playing his piano and he just kind of goes, "There's a word you can't say and it's horrible to say to people." And he says, "There's a G and an I and an N and an R and an E." And then you sit there and the crowd's getting tenser and tenser and tenser. And he goes, "Only a ginger can call another ginger." And you sit there and you go, "Oh, I get it. And for some reason, while I was watching these two doofuses on screen, that's all I could think about.
Yeah, that's fair. Sometimes your mind does wander during Gladiator 2.
Certainly to Tim Minchin for some weird reason, who would have been good in this, by the way. But like I say, the costume design of those guys and everyone in this was really phenomenal. The sets, the grandioseness of them. I just feel like when Ridley Scott gets it right, he gets it right.
Yeah.
The trappings are great.
He can do epic.
Yeah.
He can do epic, yeah.
The trappings are so cool. Like just the rhino head and when they're eating, like that first little melee when Pedro Pascal comes back and he's walking up the steps with the Coliseum in the background, which is like a callback to the original movie. See, like all that stuff is awesome. The fights, I didn't love the sharks. Although it's realistic, I think that they could, because they did do naval battles. Like they did flood it. Like that is historically
accurate. But how'd they get
accurate.
sharks in there? I'm sorry, it makes no fucking sense.
They did flood the Coliseum. So that is it feasible?
Yeah.
That they got sharks? I mean, like, I don't know the logistics of getting that to the Coliseum.
Difficult.
That seems difficult. No, I just don't think that they're like, if they went through that long journey, they'd be jet lagged. I don't think they're just like hopping on eating every single dude that falls in. But it was like, as soon as you're in the water, it's like chomp chomp. That was the part where I was like, I don't think they're that angry. They could.
I think that's my favorite catchphrase from Dre. Just chomp chomp.
Yeah.
The only way that would work is if the water is constantly going in and going out, like it's a cycle. In which case, it would stir up all the sand, and it would change the salinity of the water, which means the sharks will all die.
Yeah, you just have a bunch of floating sharks. No, I'm not championing the sharks. I'm just simply saying they did flood. Like the naval battle thing is real. The sharks.
Yeah. I mean, you know what happened though? Like I was totally fucking bewildered by it. And then one of the ships crashed into one of the other ships and a homie fell off into the water and got ate by a shark. And I leaned over to Alex and went, "Yeah, I'm totally in off of the sharks now. I'm cool with it." Like it's just, you gotta eat a bunch of dudes. I'm going to watch,
Yeah.
I wonder how they got the speed up to ram that ship so hard.
Oh God, why would you do that to yourself? It takes me out of it when I'm in this like really great historical, fiction. Trappings are everywhere, amazing, and then I see like a CGI shark in a Coliseum. It does take me out.
I mean, the rhino took me out,
but the rhino's more believable.
Oh, it's totally believable. I really liked it, and I completely understand why they use a CGI rhino. You can't just fucking pop a rhino into this, this movie. But I don't know.
But the dude riding it, he looked legit. Like it looked like he was on it. It was like the CG was particularly good. They even rendered it in the higher shutter speed or the higher frame rate that they're actually shooting in, so that it matched. Like sometimes they don't do that and it doesn't match.
I didn't think it looked terrible.
I liked how he used the sand from the ground to disorientate the rhino so he could beat it. A lot of the little details like that I really liked in the action.
I mean, after he got fucking punted right after that. It was totally failed successfully, but like, just dunk.
He did jazz hands and then got fucking nearly gored to death.
Yeah.
I did wonder how he walked away from that because that looked like it would have hurt a lot.
Well, he's the hero. So
He's got all that plot armor on. He's got to survive. All right, then let's quickly move on then. Shall we talk a little bit about tones and themes? Are there any that are different to the first Gladiator movie?
absolutely not.
The sexual deviance of Rome? That could be one.
Yeah, no, it's just, corruption, the misuse of power, revenge, redemption. It's all that good stuff.
Yeah. They did go a bit deeper into like how the people are affected by the actions, I think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the sort of
whereas
uprising.
The first one, they didn't touch on that. They just kept talking about, hey, the people, there's some disease, but you didn't really see it, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
Syphilis.
You do.
Sarah, it's not good for you.
Not remembering.
Yeah. All right, let's do 3 best and 3 worst then. Let's do one each. We started with worst last time you were on, Regan, so let's do worst first. What is your worst for this movie?
They don't explain how the fuck they fill the Colosseum with water. You had the perfect opportunity. You made a movie in which it happened. They could have got one line. It could have been, we filled this by having the word or whatever it was. And you'd be like, oh, thank goodness. And the sharks, they're real. And that would have been
We use polyurethra to...
We use polyurethra to make the sharks. They're not real. That's a hammerhead and that's a Mako.
Love that.
I don't know who I am, but
yeah, why are you so British for?
I was being Ian McKellen. I'm not sure. So yeah, they didn't explain that for me. God damn it.
I appreciate that. DL, you got a worst?
I think my worst would probably other than the stuff I've already touched on, which I think is just don't use the Prince story. I don't like that story. I think I would have loved to see Matt Lucas, the Master of Ceremonies, just die. I was expecting him to just get murked. You know who I'm talking about? That pale guy. His name's Matt. Yeah, Matt Lucas. He's
a comedian from the UK.
Yeah, he should have died. When it was all going to shit, I was like, when am I going to get that frame of just an arrow through his face? It never came.
Yep. Missed opportunity.
And I think also a missed opportunity with Yuval. I'm going to butcher her name, but Arashat in the movie, his wife, that, spoilers for the first 20 minutes, she dies.
Well, fridging.
Yeah, fridging. Surely there's a better storyline for her, where she's like, I don't know what happened to beautiful, beautiful women that were of the conquered, but you have to imagine she could have been, there was something else that happened. They would have gone into their own version of slavery, and that would have been an interesting thing to explore as well, rather than just do the classic, hey.
Well, she was a warrior.
Yeah, but I don't know if Rome.
Yeah, I mean, what if they made
Maybe
her a Gladiator II?
There's a bunch of stuff.
Just a different.
There's a bunch of stuff you could have done.
I mean, there's an easy plot line there where they go to different gladiatorial owners and they end up in the Colosseum having to fight each other. Do you know what I mean? That's a storyline that was right there for them. You don't have to.
There's a bunch.
Poor girl. There's so much you can do.
Or she falls into servitude to the emperors, and you get a visceral okay, these guys something that hits more home to you personally about how corrupt they are, other than the fact that they just suck. It's they're abusing her. There's all sorts of shit that they could have done other than just put an arrow through her.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right.
Agreed.
I have one last final worst, which is just how heavily they lent on the original. It was you made the joke that there's a watercolor of the whole film at the beginning of this. Literally there is. And then it basically was almost flashing back to scenes from the original so often. I was just like, I might as well just watch Gladiator 1.
Yes, you might as well.
Well, it's not even, it's also the whole arc with the fucking guy that helps him. Literally the same story. You feel you may become an honorable man. It's literally the same thing. It's literally.
But even the dialogue's similar. It's
yeah, I was just oh, come on.
Give me something different. Yeah, 100%. Well, look, we've said worsts. Let's do our 3 bests. DL, do you want to start with the best?
Yeah, I did. I like Pedro Pascal's character arc, and I like Denzel's character arc, and the themes behind those stories were pretty cool, and the acting was phenomenal. And honestly, Paul Mescal wasn't bad. I believed him in his role. Yeah, I believe sometimes he was a bit. I think the dialogue was a bit much, but
heavy.
He was good,
heavy-handed.
Yeah,
and he doesn't have the star power of Crowe either. He's not not there yet.
He's just not. He's simply not as good of an actor. I think he may become one, but but there's just moments in Gladiator 1 where you're just whoa, that was really good from Russel Crowe. I just 100%. Forgot how good of an actor he was, and then I rewatched that movie and I was that bird scene, the scene where
that was the scene I was thinking of.
Yeah, anytime he's pulled out of like reverie, or like how he can quickly go from like being this really vulnerable man to like this general, like the switch. It's just like you can see it's so tied to his character. Where I just got anger and rage from Mescal on this. Mostly.
I think like just leaning into that a little bit. I think there's a reason for that though, because I mean, like, and I'm really stretching here, but obviously Russel Crowe's character Maximus in the first one, he is a seasoned general. He knows how to compartmentalize when he's in battle and when he's at home. He puts his anger to the side, whereas the Mescal character has only known rage his whole life. So that kind of makes sense in a way for that character, but I totally get where you're coming from.
No, and also...
He even gets him mad at some chickens at the beginning.
Yeah.
He like shoos the chickens away angrily, and she's just like, calm the fuck down. Yeah. We eat them.
Yeah, that's our food for later.
To be fair, he's also supposed to be this jaded prince. So, and he does play that well. Like, I do think he plays the, like, I don't believe in this. Like, I'm laughing at you all because I know this better than anyone role really well. There was the highs of that weren't as high as obviously, I think, Russell Crowe's performance. Yeah.
Do you have a best, Regan?
I've got three really quickly. Denzel Washington.
Yes.
Denzel fucking Washington. And the action. And the integrated CG of the action, the practical with the CG, it's Rid at his best. He was kicking goals the whole film.
We all had Denzel as one of our bests, which I think is fabulous. I just loved him. I think it's actually pronounced Denzel. So just so you both know, no,
I'll allow it.
I think my best was probably going to be the scale, right? The scale of this. He Ridley goes all out to make this a bombastic fucking action spectacle. It's a spectacle. And I think that reflects how I remember the first one, even if the first one does feel slightly smaller scale when you watch it back. It's as epic in 100 ways, but the battles aren't as huge. Like they aren't as regular. And when you watch back the stuff in the Colosseum, like, don't fill the fucking thing with water and put sharks in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
the first one's much more meditative. Yeah.
Right. 100%. And this takes it up to 11, like you say. Now then. Gents, can you guess for me the current IMDb score for this?
I feel like people are going to be really harsh on it. What is it, out of 10 again?
Yeah.
Correct.
7.3.
Okay. DL?
Yeah, I've seen it already on accident, but it is 7.
He knows. It is 7. Yeah, it's currently 7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Which is pretty fair, I think.
I think with the things it gets wrong, like that kind of makes sense to me, people going for that. But can you guess for me the current Rotten Tomatoes score percentage-wise, DL, if you haven't seen this already?
I haven't. This is always a shot in the dark. I don't know. This one I'm like 76.
Okay.
Flat 70 again.
Interesting. It's 73. So like bang in the middle of the
split
two.
it.
Right in the middle.
We split it.
Right in the middle, buddy.
It's fun. I think that's pretty high for Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I think unless it's heralded these days, 73 is actually half decent for Rotten Tomatoes.
Unless it's Geraldo. Like the American talk show host.
It's certainly not Geraldo. I would like to see where he would fit into this movie, much like I would like to see where Mark Wahlberg would fit into this movie.
He wouldn't. He fucking wouldn't unless he played the rhino. I'm a rhino, bro.
Stay prayed up, bro. Can you guess me the Letterboxd score, which is out of 5, and is always 3.6, but never 3.6?
3.3.
DL?
This feels like a 3.6.
It's a 3.5. You're so close. You're right there. You had it.
Man.
All right, so what we do now, ladies and gentlemen, is we do our rating system of the podcast, which is very simple. Is this better or worse than Aquaman 2018? You understand what we do by now. We know the internet's binary. We basically say, is this better or worse than the most average movie that we know of, which is, for now and ever shall be, Aquaman 2018. Regs, is this better or worse than Aquaman 2018?
It's better. It's better.
DL?
Gotta be.
Yeah, it does what it wants to do better.
It's gotta
do
be
we
better.
all agree?
I'd rather watch this any day of the week. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. It is very good. I do miss... They had CGI water-based animals, and they didn't have an octopus playing the drums. So I'm a little upset that wasn't slid in there somehow. I could have made that work, but I was entertained.
A fucking body of water with a bunch of fish in it. They could have done it no problems at all, and it would have been just as believable as having hammerhead sharks. What I must say though is, you know how before at the beginning I was saying, I was in a bewilderment when this film got announced. I'm like, Gladiator II? It's been, how long has it been? Like 25 years? That doesn't make sense. Blah blah. It was blowing my mind. I had the same feeling when they announced they were going to make a second Aquaman movie, and that was only like 4 years apart. So that tells you about the quality of these two pictures.
Sure, it certainly says something. I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not sure it says anything. I'm just saying it.
I love that you get feelings about movies. I personally only do if there's a triple X in the title, but that's just me.
Cheeky.
With Vin Diesel.
With Vin Diesel.
Do you have
so random? So fucking random.
I'm more of a fan of State of the Union, but whatever.
I think it was you and me, Regs, talking about The Rock not being sexualized in movies last week, and I think Vin Diesel is exactly the same. Just bald and hairless and giant.
Just weird pebble people. Just looking like river stones. What was that, sorry?
Spoiler time, big time spoiler time?
Yeah, I mean, there's
Sure.
one big one.
Go on, tell me the big one.
Lucius is the bastard son of Maximus Aurelius.
Decimus
Something,
Meridius.
something.
Maximus out there getting it wet.
Yeah.
I thought he had a wife and a child that he was so obsessed with.
Well, it's implied that
I
this
think
was
Doesn't that
before.
change his character?
Yeah, it's before that. The
It's implied
timeline
that
is-
it's
is,
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it though? I mean, if he was that in love with his wife, the kid didn't look that much younger than.
What do you, he's literally
Lucius
he's
did.
literally 6 years younger. The other kid was like 5. The other one's like a No, I think it's like I understand why they went there. Because there's like heavy hints of it. Like they're definitely alluding in depth in the first one to a really like spicy, passionate, affair for that lasted for years
Yeah.
between him and
Spicy.
the what's her name in the movie.
Spicy Lucilia.
Yeah.
And actually, that feeds into one of my favorite plot lines in the movie, which is also a big spoiler. So Denzel exploits the Thorax character who sells out Pedro and Lucilla, who are plotting against the Twink Emperors. They're plotting to take them down because, we've talked about it. They are basically killing Rome from the inside out. They're running it dry of grain. They're killing it. And he sells them out basically by, exploiting Thorax's. Well, he's a gambling addict, I assume, based on the fact that he can't keep it in his pants when he offers him any kind of bet. And that's one of my favorite storylines that sort of intersects with that Lucius plot, because obviously then Lucilla being his mother, he then has to try and protect her. She goes into the Colosseum. Love that part of the film. I thought it was really interesting.
She's over 2 in coups. She really needs to give that up. She
But
just fucks up those
She's over
things.
2 for getting fucking shot in the heart with an arrow as well.
Yeah.
But then that was a repeat of the first, literally a repeat of the first movie, like as in almost beat for beat, except it was her who got shot by the arrow and not one of Russel Crowe's mates. So I'm conflicted now. I've thought about it.
No, I actually I like that happened, because like that is the move that Denzel's character would make. Like he would be ruthlessly.
I meant the bit about her getting shot with the arrow. That's literally what happens to Russel Crowe's old mate in the first one.
And he gets hung, doesn't he? It's like both. He gets the double.
Yeah, double whammy.
That part was like whatever. I mean, like I didn't think much of it. Like, to be fair, it would be pretty unbelievable to try and execute two coups on 2 emperors and to get out scot-free. So it makes sense she would, be murked. But
I guess we're just checking off names that died in this end. Lucilla dies, Pedro Pascal dies, Denzel dies. Denzel actually wins effectively. Let's be quite frank. He sort of like pulls off his manipulation of the twin emperors. I actually really like that bit, how he manipulated the two and played them against each other. It wasn't difficult. They were both little brats who didn't know any better than, they've never heard no in their entire lives. But him taking control, the monkey taking its seat in Parliament where it deserved to be, that all worked for me. I enjoyed all of that.
I did too.
I think that part in particular is where he does, play them against each other, and then also plays on the younger brothers'
Insecurities,
mental inefficiencies or mental deficiencies, to be like, your brother's plotting against you and it's you or him, and think what the monkey would do and all that kind of stuff, and then even helps him murder him. He does kind of get what he wants, apart from getting cleaved at the end of it. But
yeah, I almost feel like it's like there's a better bittersweet story where he wins and Rome like slowly collapses, but Paul Mescal's character like is so disenfranchised with what Rome has become. He like leads. It's almost like the Jon Snow north of the wall. He leads a group of people to go create a new, more like community driven society that comes out of Rome, right? Because
why don't you just rewrite it, Dre? Just go and tell them You
I'm
know
sorry.
better than them.
Gladiator 2, the Dre cut.
You know?
Yeah.
Release
But
the
don't
Dre cut, hashtag release it.
Don't you think? Like, I was
Release the
excited to see
Bielka.
the fall of Rome, and at the end they're like, actually, we are all good. And I'm like, that is not true at this era. This is actually when
Yeah.
it collapses.
Yeah. Everyone's
you've
fucked.
You've completely changed history. Like, I don't know. I was hoping for a
In
more
the
like
words of Limp
bittersweet.
Bizkit, everything is fucked. Everybody sucks. It's just exactly where this movie ends. And
Oh, the prophets,
you know, like
the prophets Limp Bizkit.
yeah, exactly. The
Yeah.
prophets. I don't think Paul Mescal killing Denzel's character. I don't think that is impactful enough to bring Rome back together. Like you say, it's literally running out of everything: money, grain, everything. And the thing that I found the most funny about the ending of the film was Paul Mescal stood in front of two armies who were both quite far away from each other, giving an impassioned speech.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
And literally, like 12 of those dudes must have been able to hear that. They
Yeah,
must
no,
have
they
all been in
wouldn't
the
be able
back, like, "What are you
What did he
saying?
yeah,
Say
no,
it
for sure.
louder!"
I think he's on our team. I can't tell. Wait and see what happens. If he stabs anyone, then probably not. You know?
He's wearing the wrong colors.
But no,
He's
they,
wearing the wrong colors.
they
Yeah.
imply that he like united the armies, and I'm just like, oh god, okay, well,
Yeah, and I've got to say, like the final scene of the final anything in this film is Paul Mescal going back to the Colosseum, digging his hands in the dirt and looking up, and the sky behind him's going all purple and funky and exciting. And I shit you not, this film was a split second away from going full fucking Mufasa on him in that moment. I thought
Yeah.
Russel Crowe was going to burst from the crowds and be like, "My son, you did a great job." You know what I mean? I was like, yeah, like
His head in the sky.
remember,
and, yeah, in the stars.
like a really bad fucking CGI Russell Crowe head, like not
I
unlike
thought that was
Thor,
coming too.
Love and Thunder.
I honestly did.
I
think
really
was
thought
coming.
that was coming. I was like, holy fuck, they're gonna ruin this.
And there's the end of the first one with Jimon Honsu goes in and buries the figurines of his daughter and son, and he's like, "I'll see you in that next place, but not yet." Like that. That's such a great ending, because it does. I mean, like, why doesn't he get the sequel? Jimon's still acting. He's still in great shape. Like he should be the
Jimon's
motherfucking
amazing.
Gladiator.
We talked about this. I want to see the Jimon Honsu cinematic universe because he is in so many good films. Bring them all
Yeah.
to
And some shitty ones
me
as well.
see it. And some shitty ones. He's in Aquaman 2018. Just saying.
What's he doing in that?
He's the fish man. He's in the DC about fucking 12 times. He's in a bunch of those films.
Ah, Fishman.
He's
I
in
think-
the Shazams, yeah.
I think the ending of it to me is sort of a reflection of the movie. It is really interesting. It's really well put together. It's beautiful. Is it 100% necessary? I really am not sure.
Mm. No, I mean, so few current movies that come out are necessary. They are, revenue streams and they are business. They are the literal business in the show business. But
Literally.
sometimes, occasionally, something sneaks through that actually is really important and has a real purpose and can teach us things like the Wild Robot. And then sometimes they're Gladiator 2.
I liked it, but let's do a bit of trivia true or false. Do you want to do a bit of trivia true or false? Or have you got anything else to say about the spoilers?
No,
Good, yeah.
that noise was unnecessary, just like the film.
Let's do this. Trivia true, trivia false. It was reported that Timothée Chalamet, Miles Teller, and Austin Butler, and Richard Madden were all reportedly offered the Paul Mescal role. Is that true or is that false?
I reckon they might have been looked at. I don't think they were offered it, though.
Yeah.
It's sort of true. They did meet and audition for director Ridley Scott, but Paul Mescal just had a physicality and that he liked for the role and was eventually cast. So
Dig it.
like
Good
that.
young actor.
I don't know about Timothée Chalamet for this.
Yeah, I don't know about Richard Madden's Scottish accent. That'd be tough.
Yeah, I mean, he can do a convincing English accent. Austin Butler would not have been good for this with his Elvis accent.
Yeah. Got to win.
Are
this
you
race.
not entertained? That would have been a little bit awkward. All right,
Lemonade.
trivia true, trivia false, gents. To avoid problematic rewrites of the script, a la Gladiator, Ridley Scott refused to sign on to direct the film until he was 100% happy with the script. Is that true or is that false?
True.
Yeah, I'll believe that.
I made it up. You fell into my trap.
Oh, you
Yes!
dirty.
I did
dirty
it.
citizen.
I realized the more complicated and ridiculous notes I put in there that generally relate to other things, it's easy to fall in the trap. I appreciate you both falling into that. Thank you both. True. I don't know where these
Like
accents
you've
are going.
won some great Like, you know what I mean? It's like, we're on a fucking podcast, mate.
I am Maximus Decimus Meridius, and I shall beat you in podcasting.
Yeah, 11 people are happy for you.
Yeah, thank you, 11 people. We love you. Trivia true, trivia false. In a radio interview, Ridley Scott explained how he had to rehire a set from Kingdom of Heaven from the Moroccan government. Is that true or is that false?
That sounds way too specific.
Yeah, true.
It is true. Scott actually sold the Kingdom of Heaven set to the Moroccan government for $10, as it was actually cheaper than dismantling it. He then had to rehire it from the government to shoot scenes at the beginning of this movie. That is fucking fascinating. I want to see that movie.
What the fuck are they doing with it when he's not using it?
I don't know. Like that's what I mean. Like, show me a whole film about that. What are you
Cold
doing
storage.
with it? Like it. Right. It's got to be for something. I reckon they just hire it out for
I reckon
Samuels
it's
and
for
Sons movies.
meats. I love that idea.
It's actually a nuclear testing facility. Trivia.
Where do we keep it? The pigs now? Where do we keep it? The pigs? Oh, we keep them in the Kingdom of Heaven set. It's cold in there. We put it cold. It's beautiful.
What is that accent? What is that accent?
I don't know. It was Italian by way of Jamaica, I think. I'm not 100% sure.
It was an accent. I'll tell you that. It was
a try. I threw it out there and
100% PC.
it came back to me. Yeah.
We're going to get cancelled at some point. I'm 100% sure of it.
I'll
Trivia
get
true,
cancelled.
trivia
You guys are
false.
fine.
Barry Keoghan was originally cast as one of the twin emperors. Is that true or is that false?
True. Because I wish.
All right, I'm going to go through then, yeah.
It was true. He had to actually drop out due to scheduling conflicts. That's that could mean anything these days. They didn't like him. He didn't test well. He actually had scheduling conflicts. You know what I mean? Like, it could literally mean anything. Ultimately, gents, I genuinely, even though we tore this to pieces a little bit, really had fun with this movie. Had some problems, but I don't think it needs to exist. But I'm happy it does.
Yeah. It doesn't
I'm
matter
Ron
whether
Burgundy.
you wanted it or not. You've got it. So
Yes.
shut the fuck up and
It's
eat
in your
dinner.
eye holes.
Eat your
Gents,
slop, you stupid consumer.
Thank you so much for sticking with it. We really do appreciate you guys sticking with us. Regs, do you want to give yourself a big shout out before we wrap up the show?
Nah.
Matt, just copy and paste one of his last ones in right here.
Yeah,
I'm
right
kidding.
now. No, it's you know where to find me, everybody. Just check the beginning of the episode, and if you want to find me for reals, I'll see you in Canada,
Yay, he's exciting. He's going away.
British Columbia.
Do you want to wrap up the episode, DL?
Yeah, big thank you to Matthew Bliss for editing and mastering this week's episode. If you'd like Matt to be a part of your podcasting team, get in touch on mbpod.com or business@mbpod.com for emails. You can find out more about what he does, his services and stuff. If you want to hear his work, listen to Coffee with a Podcaster, short thought pieces on topics about podcasting, shared over a cup of coffee. I need a cup of coffee now. I am starting my work day. Well, these guys are clocking
you poor
off.
bugger.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I'm in the middle
We
of my work
done.
day. Don't listen
We
to this.
done. Coffee with a Podcaster is super wholesome content. You guys should go and check it out immediately and give it 5 stars. Like you should give us 5 stars, and like you should give Regan likes and subscribes on YouTube's, as you always should. I don't know if Dre just said this. I was too busy dancing with Regs, but you can find us at thepodcastassemble@gmail.com or podcastassemble on Instagram. We're everywhere. Come check us out. We love you. Tally ho.
Tally-ho.
Tally ho.
Tally ho.
Bye.